but behind closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So, as most of you already know, I can't imagine anyone not knowing this at this point, but Uprising has finally launched on Overwatch. We have yet another big event finally coming to the game, and it has come with a slew of changes and a ton of new skins, a new game mode, and I don't know about you guys, but I am just ecstatic about it. So, without further ado, let's get into the content. And the first thing we're going to look at is the new skins. So, the characters that got new skins are McCree, Torbjorn, Tracer, Mercy, Genji, Reinhardt, Bastion, and Widowmaker. Now, just looking at the skins alone, I like a lot of them. I think McCree's is cool. I think Genji's is pretty cool. I think Torb by far has the coolest selection of them, and I think Mercy's are pretty cool. Now, Orisa's, it's alright, but her as a character I'm still iffy about. Widowmaker, I'm a console player, so she's basically irrelevant on console except for quick play, so that's almost like a throwaway skin for at least most console players. And Reinhardt and Bastion's is they're very bland in the sense of they're just like they're cool, but they could use something different. The one that I kind of wanted to mention was Mercy, because she has so many already. I was just really surprised that Blizzard added another Mercy skin just because of the fact that she's got 9 gold skins now, which is incredible to think that Zarya barely has any. Soldier hasn't got a new skin. Hanzo hasn't got a new skin at all, but she's gotten almost 5, one for every event. I don't know if it's just because she's the character that kind of, she's almost like the logo for the game at this point, but I just thought it was weird. Now, to go to the next section, look at highlight intros. We have 3 new highlight intros. Torbjorn, yet again, he's gotten a lot of love this patch, and it is just so good to see. If he was a better character, I'd be happy, because his skins and everything, his highlight intros are just amazing. He's probably my next favorite, like, character as an an all-around character next to Junkrat. Then we have Diva, who got a really nice highlight intro. Very modern as well. And then Zenyatta got a highlight intro, which is pretty funny as well. Now, rounding out the character kind of skin and the more visual changes, we have 3 new emotes. Hanzo got a new emote, Soldier got an emote, and Pharah got an emote. Not going to go into these a whole lot. They're pretty cool. I'd like to see a lot of emotes kind of going on. I'd love to see a ton of emotes coming out because it's something everyone kind of likes to play around with, and I've started playing around with more. Now, the big part of this patch and the big part of this update, the new Brawl. So, with everything that has come, this may be the best Brawl that we've had since the release of the game. So, we've had Junkrat's Brawl, Junkenstein's Revenge, and that Brawl was fun, but it lacked a certain playability to it, just for the fact that there was only 4 heroes you could play, and the entire thing was just kind of stationary. You were just stuck in whatever area that was. You couldn't move around, you were just, basically, you had to sit there and fire while all these guys just came at you or kind of stood in a window, and there was really nowhere to go. You were pressed against a gate, and that was it. That was the entire challenge. Just shoot from this gate. And I think that's what really killed its playability. Then you have Maze Brawl, which was cool as a concept because it reminded me of One in the Chamber from Call of Duty, and that was a very, very fun game mode. I think it was good for the first few days, but then after you played it 7 to 8 times, you played it for a night with your friends, it started to lose its shine. It started to be this like, oh my god, this is gonna super fun brawl, and it started going to it's kind of tedious. It takes forever to find a game. I keep getting booted out of games. People keep leaving. This is just, you died once and then you kind of wanted to leave because you knew it could be up to like 2 minutes before the next round started. So, Maze Brawl, it was a good idea and it was fun, but it lacked a certain playability. Capture the Flag was the first really cool game mode, and I think they're keeping it in the game. and they've kind of slowly gotten better and better as we go along. Capture the Flag was fun, but without the the competitive nature to it, it almost was just like a quick play where people kind of would just screw around because they could. Once they got their loot boxes, once they were done with that, then they just didn't care anymore. And a lot of people kind of took advantage of how the game mode was, and they put Symmetra and Torbjorn, and they played it really kind of unfair in the way that it's completely fair, but it was a really annoying way to play, and that was my only gripe with it. Otherwise, I loved Capture the Flag. Now, finally onto the Uprising game mode. Now it gives us a true challenge. This is a game mode that actually has strategy to it. It has kind of different levels to it. You have to complete certain challenges at every point, and they kind of change up. It constantly kind of keeping you on your toes, and it really is a great all-around mode. They add different elements to each part of it. Now, what I do like about this is that it moves around the map, so instead of being stuck on a singular map, or instead of being stuck in a singular point, or kind of just being trapped, you are now able to move around the entire map of King's Row. You start somewhere toward the back, move to the front, and then you go all the way back toward Orisa, where they're kind of hiding in that little cave or little den area. So it really is just all around. It kind of this traveling kind of aspect to it. It gives it a thrill to it, and it really just adds that element of entertainment. You don't feel like it's just this one part. There's several moving parts to it. I also really enjoy how it has 3 separate modes to it. So I can choose the regular Uprising, the one that the Blizzard team has kind of set out with Torbjorn, Mercy, Tracer, Reinhardt, or I can go into the Mystery Hero Uprising where I get to randomly choose, or I can go into the Uprising of I get to choose my own player, where I can be Junkrat, I can be Widow, and I think that adds a really nice playability to it. I can see myself going into, grouping up with a group of friends and saying, let's try to play Uprising on Expert. Let's see if we can beat it. And if we do, then let's see if we can beat it with characters that you wouldn't typically think. Characters like Reinhardt, characters like Bastion, Mercy, Ana, I've even played with a Junkrat, are all characters that kind of can take advantage of the constant just throw damage down range and eventually you're going to kill people. As long as you can put out a lot of damage, you can succeed at this game. But why don't we try with an Ana? Let's throw a Lucio in there. Or maybe let's see how much damage I can do with a Winston. You can really challenge yourself in this one. Choose characters that aren't really optimal for this kind of game mode and see how far you can get on different difficulties. It just gives it, and being able to choose your own characters, you can kind of alter the game and alter how it plays in each kind of playthrough. And that's something I really like about it. But I give my hats off to Blizzard. Because this is an excellent game mode. I hope this stays in the game for a good while. I don't want this just to leave after the event. If they could keep adding game modes like this every, few weeks, I think that would be a ton of fun, and I will constantly play this with my friends. Now we have a few hero changes to go through. The first one, just very briefly mentioning, Orisa's head hitbox, or her headshot range, was taken down by 15%, much like what happened to Winston. This is essentially just going to prevent people from hitting her in the head and just pinging her, basically, with an entire clip. The big change, the Lucio patch, has finally gone through, and your favorite soccer star is now a lot more threatening. So if you guys don't know the entirety of the Lucio patch, essentially his sonic amplifier was increased by 25%, his projectile speed was increased from 40 to 50, and his alternate fire is now considers vertical orientation when knocking targets back. It just doesn't boop them straight, it boops them like up, and it kind of accounts, and it works a lot smoother than it used to. Also, his crossfade, which is essentially his healing aura, or if you would say, his area effect has been reduced from 30 meters to 10 meters, but it still feels pretty large. Now you can kind of see that area effect where he's healing, And it still seems very large. So when that area effect was 30, that was a very, very large distance because I can still get 4 or 5 teammates in that aura or that, that crossfade without much difficulty. So I cannot believe it was at 30 at one point. His his healing per second has been increased by 30%, and that also applies to his amp up ability, but his healing on himself has been reduced by 25%. So hypothetically killing him is easier, but because of this next change of his movement speed is increased by 20% when wall riding, and Lucio is now receives a burst of speed when leaping off a wall. So essentially what this means is Lucios who are very skilled with this character, Lucios who are able to kind of like manipulate and just are very good at wall riding, aren't going to heal as fast, but at the same time they're going to be much harder to hit because they're going to be moving so much faster. And getting into a few games already, I can already tell this is going to be somewhat of an issue for a lot of teams. Just running around a payload, going in a circle, jumping up and down. He is a pain to actually like nail down and hit. You like need a Roadhog hook or a Winston to chase him around. The last big change, and this is something I can't believe it took until Season 4 to fix because this has been a problem since Season 1. And I can't believe this went under the radar for so long or was just in production for so long. But now there will be no more ties on 2-point capture point maps. Essentially, now let's say you're on a capture point map and 2-point capture point map, you cap the first point, you go to the second point, you get the first tick, you rushed in there, you had a great push, and they stop you. You got a tick and a half maybe, but you never get that second tick. And you keep going in, you never get that progress, the round ends, and that's as far as you've gone. How it used to go is that as soon as you got to that half, then that's where it was. It didn't even count that you capped the first tick in the second point. It was you just capped the first point. So essentially you held them to the first point, or they captured the second point and won the game. There was no in between. Now that you've got that tick and a half, the other team has to cap the first point and cap and get that tick and a half. And they cannot go and they can't get the same amount as you. They're either going to lose or they're going to win. And that is something that I'm really happy about. There's not going to be 4 games in a row ending in a tie because both of you have only capped the first point. And some of these 2-point capture point maps are so hard to take the second point because you're so close to the spawn. You can just bring a Mei, a Winston, a Diva, a Reinhardt, a Lucio, Tracer. You can bring this team in, this stall team, and essentially just stall them out for the entire game. And a lot of these games ended in ties. I think most of the time that we got in these games, we'd either just totally tear through this team or hold them, or, it ended in a tie. But now, much like a payload system on any of the standard payload maps, whatever team gets the farthest, whatever team gets more ticks or gets a tick and a half, whatever team has more progress on these 2-point capture point maps than the other is going to win. And I am very happy that this was finally instituted because I have had so many ties this season and this is finally going to solve that issue. But that is all the changes we have for today. I know there are more changes, especially coming to competitive mode when it comes to the streaks and how the win-loss streaks are going to go. I'm going to cover that in a separate video because that is such a big topic for me personally this season. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. We will see you at the next video and stay achieving.
Good work out there, team. We've stopped null sector and given peace a chance.